All right, folks, how you doing? I'm Tim Black. You tuned into Tim's Take Live. I have updates for you for the Ferguson shooting. Hashtag Ferguson shooting, hashtag Ferguson, hashtag Mike Brown. We have the autopsy results finally in from the independent report from a Dr. Baden hired by the family. It's been over 160 hours since the death of Mike Brown. St. Louis nor Ferguson have given us an autopsy yet. We have an independent one from Dr. Baden. This is what we found. On the screen here, you see pictures of the state of Mike Brown's body, his corpse. This is what we know. There were 6 shots. 6. 4 in the right arm, 2 in the head. I repeat, there were 6 shots, 4 in the right arm, 2 in the head. There was no residue found on the body, which indicates, based on what we know, that it appears that Mike Brown was not shot up close. Even if he was, they don't have the clothing, okay? So they don't have the clothing. The Dr. Baden didn't have the clothing to examine it. But if he was shot very close, the residue would be on the physical body as well as clothing. But he doesn't have the clothing to give a full analysis of that. But it appears, because there is no residue on his hands, on his neck, it appears that he was not shot up close. There are a number of entry and exit wounds, but all of the entry wounds appear to be front facing. And that means he was not shot in the back as he fled. I repeat, the entry wounds appear to show Mike Brown was not shot in the back as he fled. It appears he was shot front facing. Now, there are a number of entry and exit wounds, okay? One shot that went in his arm, bounced around a lot. One shot that hit him in the eye socket, bounced around a lot, came out his jaw, jumped in his collarbone. It's graphic stuff. The kill shot appears to be the shot that was in the top of the skull, which leads me to the 5 points I want to give you. First of my 5 points is, I want to address, let me address first of all the cigarette letdown. I know a lot of you out there are very upset because you were invested emotionally in this case. And you were upset. Some of you were saddened by the footage of Mike Brown being in that convenience store, getting into an altercation with the merchant. And I understand that. But look, this is not about, is Mike Brown a saint? This is about, did Mike Brown get executed that day? Did that officer shoot this young man in cold blood? It's not about, did Mike Brown ever do anything wrong in his life? I know we would like to cheer for people that, have never done a wrongdoing ever. We don't know exactly what transpired in that convenience store. I know what it appears to be, but I don't know that to be fact. All right? It appears to be a squabble over some cigarettes, and it appears to be that he pushed the guy. I don't know. Some people are saying he gave him money. Some people are saying he didn't give any money for the cigarettes or the cigarillos, the swishers. I know what swishers are, man. But you can't let that get you down too much, ladies and gentlemen, because that's not what this case is about. This case is about, was this a wrongful or a rightful shoot? Did this young man do anything that should have cost his life that day? Not with a gangbang on the street. I'm talking about with the officer who was licensed and paid through tax dollars of the citizens in that neighborhood. Okay? All right. Number 2, address the fact Mike Brown was not shot running away. We did that. Look, he was not shot running away. He may have ran away. He may have stopped running and turned around, but he was not shot in the back. So we're going to have to deal with that, address that, deal with that, and acknowledge it. Number 3, the headshots are very troubling because it shows no regard for human life. I didn't know officers were even trained to shoot unarmed people in the head. That's the kind of police force you want? Officers that shoot in the face and in the skull? Send them ass, right? Send them ass. Brown, number 4. Brown was 6'4". I don't know how tall Darren Wilson is, but he don't appear to be 6'4". How did he shoot Mike in the head, in the top of the head here? Autopsy results show that he was either on his knees, Mike Brown was on his knees, with the officer standing higher level than him, or Mike Brown was charging. One or the other. And since he had been shot 5 times before this fatal shot, which is what Dr. Baden says was fatal, so fatal that even if Mike Brown would have been rushed to the hospital immediately, the survival rate was nil. Meaning he would not have survived if he was rushed to the hospital immediately after being shot twice in the face, in the head, I should say. All right? All right. So what I'm saying, how likely is it for somebody to charge a cop after being shot 4 or 5 times? I don't know. I guess there's some people out there who are going to want to follow that narrative because they just can't believe that this officer could take a man's life out of anger. Because, you know, officers aren't human beings. And number 5, people saying, what if Darren Wilson were black? What if Mike Brown were white? So you know what? I do not like the race baiting. Can't stand it. I try to avoid even bringing up race unless it's something I know that needs to be talked about in the video, because once again, I'm here to unite you, not to divide you. I'll leave that to other folks to do. All right? But let me put it to you this way. If Mike Brown were white, we wouldn't be having this conversation because this probably wouldn't have happened. Oh, we would. You know what? It may have happened. It may have happened. A white cop could shoot a white guy, a white kid, unarmed, after a scuffle, some type, right? But we wouldn't be talking about it because we probably wouldn't know about it, but the community would know about it because someone would have loved Mike Brown, whether he was white or black. All right? That's what I believe. I believe it would still be an issue. It just wouldn't be an issue that would be front page. And don't get it twisted. Media is loving this. I'm doing stories on it, but God, man, I'm not making hardly anything on these stories, if anything. Wow. But I got 10,000 views, 5,000, 3,000 views. Think how well CNN's doing, MSNBC's doing, HLN's doing, MSNBC's doing, Fox News is doing. Just think how good they're doing. CBS, ABC, they're loving this. All the newspapers, all the media is loving it, eating it up. It's feast of famine. Right now, they are feasting. All right? Now, what if Mike Brown was black and what if the cop was black? Well, we wouldn't have heard about it, but once again, people have been talking about it in that neighborhood. I'm sure his name would have been released a lot quicker. I know that. May have been a little bit of street justice handed down to that black cop. Now, what if the black cop shot the white kid? Well, let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. That I doubt very sincerely. I've been doing these videos for over a year now, about 14 months, and I'm going to tell you, it's hard. You know what? I can't find stories of black cops killing white kids in white neighborhoods. I just can't find them. I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm not saying it's like spotting Bigfoot, but it's like spotting a monkey riding a Harley. I mean, I know they may have some at the circus, but I've never been there, but I heard it might be possible. You understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, I don't think, and you know what, and I don't think that black cops are better trained than white cops. I just think black cops know better than to be shooting white kids in white neighborhoods when they don't have guns on them. Capiche? Now, you can believe what you want to believe. But see, I don't bring stuff up like that in my videos purposely, because I'm like, once again, I'm not here to divide you. I'm here to unite you. At least try to. All right? So anyway, folks, that's what I got for you. I wish I had more. There's going to be some more investigations done. We know the FBI is looking into it. They're going to have their autopsy report. We would like for Ferguson or St. Louis, whoever's handling this, to finally give us their information from the crime scene. Right? We need that information. Even though they took the body, didn't put it in a meat wagon, put it in the back of a cop SUV. They broke a lot of protocols here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to lie to you. This case, it don't look good for finding facts. It just doesn't. But you know how I feel. This is Tim's Take Live. It's up to you to draw your own conclusions. That shot to the top of the skull, to me, is very troubling. It tells me something. I don't know what it tells you. Leave your comments below. You can always email me with information. Please provide links if you have them. My man Clyde Zach, please keep sending me links. I appreciate it. Who else, man? I had so many people helping me out. Stinger Nuke Guy, keep sending me stuff. Carlisle's Picks, please keep sending me stuff. All you guys, thank you so much for supporting this channel. I'm out. We'll talk. It's already Monday. It's almost 2 o'clock here in DC. Don't shoot.